Welcome back, everybody, to the show. Welcome back to another week. Over the weekend, I got rather ill. So if during today's show I have to blow my nose, I'll try to not do it on the microphone, obviously. Or if I sound weird, or if a unidentified flying object comes out of my nose, just have mercy on me. I'm trying. I feel hot and cold right now, at the same time, and just would rather be in bed, but at the same time, I'd rather be with you. Wow, I'm already getting sweaty. This is brutal. I don't know. I've been warning everyone in my life, hey, I'm burning too much at both ends. There's too much. This combination of things every single day until late after work plus work and not a second to breathe, it's gonna come back to haunt me. And it did. And here I am. But more hauntingly is Trump and his recent press conference where he's outside of his plane. And I don't know why he won't just do these things indoors where there isn't loud noises and he has to shout over those loud noises. But let's check in on this, one of the most insane press conferences a president has given before, especially on the topic of a war, because each statement and each clip that I'm going to play for you confuses the world and me more. So let's start with this, a little bit of a cold open.
Bongino, you said there's many points of agreement with Iran right now.
Many.
What, can you give us a
Many, like 15 points. 15 points.
Iran has said yes.
Well, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That's number one. That's number 1, 2, and 3. They will never have a nuclear weapon.
They said yes to that?
They've agreed to that.
Okay, so that's Trump during one of his press gaggles outside of Air Force One, where he's shouting over the noise of the engines for some reason instead of just scheduling a press conference indoors, as I referenced before. But for our segment viewers, but he's crediting himself with negotiations with Iran. I'll show you later in this press conference, it gets so out of control that Fox News is like, all right, we're going to, despite this being a notable press conference they would normally cover and carry, they cut away from it as he attacks someone for remarrying too much after the wife died. We'll get to that. But first, he credits himself with 15 points, but 3 of them are the same point, according to him. And notable that Iran came out and said, we're not negotiating at all right now. No one is talking with the Trump administration. Now, they could be lying, sure. He could be lying, sure, very infamously. But their argument is, we've had 0 talks with Trump recently, and he's making this up. Then the IRGC spokesman said this.
Hey Trump, you are fired. You are familiar with this sentence. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The central headquarters of Khatam.
Okay, so they're memeing about Trump's True Social post. That's the situation that we're in. Yikes. Before I show you that Fox clip, here's Aaron Rupar saying, as a seasoned Trump watcher, it's clear to me that his tale about Iran reaching out to make a deal to end his war of aggression is mostly, if not entirely, fabricated and represents a desperate attempt to find an off-ramp before the economy and his political standing totally tank. That's what this seemed to be. Potentially market manipulation, definitely Trump trying to pull the economy back from the brink by giving people hope, even if it was completely made up. So he says, yeah, we have a deal. And they're like, what's the terms of the deal? And he says, well, there's 15 points. No nuclear weapon, no nuclear weapon, no nuclear weapon, no nuclear weapon, no, despite us not having any reason to believe that was a pressing concern at all. And then he gets asked about Joe Kent, who very famously recently resigned from the Center of Counterterrorism. And Trump had this to say about him, and this is where Fox pulled the plug.
Talking to Iran. Mr. President, do you know whether Joe Kent was leaking?
Look, I'm not a fan.
I'm leaking right now out of my nose. Gosh. This is the only downside of doing such a job. When you get ill, it all has to be on camera. And look at my face. It's like blown up like a balloon. I look like Trump right now.
Joe Kent was leaking?
Look, I'm not a fan of the guy. If you look at, and you never cover this, if you look at his truths or whatever he went on, if it's X or truth, if you look at his truths or his statements, he was all for everything. All of a sudden, he wasn't. He was a man that I met at Dover. He came and his wife was killed. He remarried fairly quickly. His wife was killed, and I felt badly for him. He ran for Congress, he lost.
So he attacks Thomas Massie on this too, and then I'll play the rest of the clip, which is someone remarrying too quickly after their wife passes away. And hey, Trump, maybe you're the exact wrong person to ever critique anyone's relationships, because guess what you did? You're accusing him of moving on too quickly after passing of a spouse. You moved on while you still had a spouse, okay? You moved on right after your spouse had a baby.
He ran for Congress again and he lost. I said, you know, he's a guy, nice guy, seemed like a very nice guy. I met him, he was pretty heartbroken, But I said, you know, it's a shame. He ran for Congress twice. Call him up, give him a job in the White House. Smart. They gave him a job in the White House, and this is what he does to me, you know? Being a nice guy doesn't pay off too much.
Mr.
President. Think of it. He loses twice in Congress, ran not very good campaigns, should have won, but he loses twice. How do I get him? I have my people call him, because I didn't deal with him for the most part. I saw him a couple of times, but I never dealt with him at all. I had no idea his ideology was left or right, whatever it is. I can say this. He said very strongly that Iran is not a threat. Iran's been a threat for 47 years, and there's not a country in the world.
So this is taking so long to get through this clip. I wish that he would make his point more quickly, but he's just kind of rambling and ranting about Joe Kent. Trump's argument is that, yes, I hired him, but I hired him because I felt bad for him. But I always knew he was bad for security, but I appointed him to this significant security job, meaning like domestic security, international security. That's what he's referring to as security, not personal security. And etc. But now he's bad and maybe on the left, but I don't know. And then Trump disputes his own point and proves Joe Kent's point when he says Iran is a threat and they've been one for 47 years, because Joe Kent's argument, based on the intelligence he had seen, which is why he resigned, was that there was no imminent threat to justify a full-scale war. When Trump says they've been a threat at the same caliber for 47 years, that means they're not an imminent threat. That's like the whole meaning of the words you just used.
That doesn't agree with me on that. So I take this guy, Joe Kent, who lost twice for Congress, pretty badly and tough, and was devastated. And I know that he lost his wife. So instead of letting him live out his life, I brilliantly have my people call him and offer him a job in security, essentially, in the White House. And what does he do? He goes out and he says that Iran is not a threat, to get publicity. Now, he probably signed up with CNN, or maybe signed up with your division of Newsmax. I don't know.
President Trump taking many questions there outside of Air Force One on his way to Memphis in a moment, taking a lot of questions, especially about Iran. Just then he was talking about Joe Kent, who had resigned last week over the Iran war, and he was talking about why he was there in that job.
So even Fox News couldn't bear to hear Trump try to justify his hiring of Joe Kent, now that Joe Kent has prominently resigned in protest of this war, by just continuing to bring up his wife who passed, and then criticizing him for getting remarried too quickly, and then proving Joe Kent's point, and really having a tough time justifying Trump's own decisions there. Then, to get back to the very frantic and confusing explanations Trump has been giving, he says, yeah, we're making progress on a deal. Iran's like, we're not even talking to the United States right now. What are you talking about? Then he goes on to say, I think we're going to strike a deal to shift control of the Strait of Hormuz. So then the reporters are like, well, who would control it? And Trump says, maybe me in coordination with Iran. Wait, you're going to jointly control the Strait of Hormuz with the country we're at war with?
What about the Strait of Hormuz? Who's going to be in control of that?
That'll be opened very soon if this works.
How soon? And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By whom?
Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in
me
control
and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah.
What? Wait, I'm so confused. So the people who are currently blowing up ships in retaliation for the war beginning as a way to inflict pain on the global economy and the United States, try to deter the United States from continuing the war, they're going to agree to jointly control with the country they're at war with the one geographical space that gives them all of the power that they have. That doesn't make any sense at all. Then this.
So the discussions took place yesterday. They went into yesterday evening. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal, too. We're going to get together today by probably phone because it's very hard to find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
Psychotic. He is so psychotic. So he talks about how a deal that could be made could lead to this being settled if all things continue to go well with negotiations, as Iran is actively saying they're not negotiating and that never happened. Not even that progress isn't being made. They're denying that any talks have taken place at all. And I guess we'll just brush past Trump saying, or we'll either make a deal or we'll keep bombing our little hearts out. He was asked, why are you going to Congress asking for $200 billion more in war funds if this is about to end?
It's great for all of them.
If the war is ending, do you still need $200 billion?
It's always nice to have. It's always nice to have. It's a very inflamed world, and the Democrats inflame it. You know, largely the Democrats inflame it.
Wait. You can't blame Joe Biden for this one, Bubs. This is all you.
It's Joe Biden.
The Democrats inflame it. That's why you need $200 billion, because it's nice to have in your back pocket. Okay, I'd understand that if our current military budget was like $200 billion, okay? If we had a $200 billion military budget, and then you're going, guys, the world's a chaotic place. We need more than that. That would be one thing. We already have a $1 trillion military budget, so the whole, we just need an extra $200 billion sitting around doesn't make sense, especially when I thought you were constantly finding billions of dollars on the tariff shelves that you didn't know where they came from. Then again, this is just like mine. I would be more exacerbated right now if it weren't for the fact that I know if I articulate myself too much, weird particles are going to come out of all of my orifices. So I'm trying to be a little bit mild-mannered so nothing takes me by surprise in terms of liquids. But I'd be more like, what are you talking about? In any other day, given how confusing this press conference was and the policies related to this war, including them easing sanctions. And maybe the producers are about to think on Russian oil. We talked about that before. That seems weird. What? We're fueling an enemy that's currently assisting in opposing us in this war. We're helping to give them more money by easing sanctions on their oil. Okay, yeah, that's crazy. No. They're going to ease sanctions on Iranian oil. What? Aren't they the ones where... Okay, so the country we're currently at war with that's promising to, I don't know, destroy us and to not agree to anything, that country... we're somehow within maybe 5 days going to start like linking arms with them and mutually running the Hormuz shop. And we're going to ease sanctions on their oil, which this is what's going to be brought up by the reporter. That's something Trump said fueled terrorism whenever Biden did it to get Americans released who were unjustifiably imprisoned. And that money never actually ended up getting to Iran, but that was horrible. Now Trump's doing it in the middle of a war, and it makes sense.
Can I ask you, the Treasury lifted sanctions on Iranian oil that was out to sea. You criticized President Obama for giving Iran $1.7 billion.
Well, I just want to have as much oil in the system as possible.
But Iran is
and we don't even know if Iran gets that money. Frankly, I think it's very hard for them to get it. But you have ships that are out there that are loaded up with oil. Rather than keep it there, I would rather see it go to the system. Any small amount of money that Iran gets is not going to have any difference in this war. But I want to have the system be lubricated.
Yeah.
Even $14 billion.
He stops after that. The system needs to be really lubricated. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Okay. So even Piers Morgan's like, sorry, first Russia, now Iran? None of this makes any sense to me. Why fuel literally your enemies? You don't understand. You got to have lubrication, nice and smooth, Piers. The oil has to help us slip right in economically. Okay, so there's that. And then there's also this.
So tomorrow morning sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. It's a very good one. There was no dearth of money. And one shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal.
They say that they don't. So we don't really know what's going on there. I honestly think, you know how before I kept going, come out and give us a more coherent explanation. Explain to the American people what's going on. The messaging has been a disaster, not to mention the policy. I actually want to reverse and take that back. I think the best thing Trump could do is to not make any more public statements. Every time he comes out, he confuses people more. Now, this does seem to be an effort to ease concerns about the economy, assist the markets, which this did have an impact on the markets. Now, that'll probably reverse as people find out that Trump was making it up, but that's more what this was about than honest messaging, in my estimation. Okay, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it. If you're just hopping on, I do want to remind you that this is not my best. We're going to end up having fun somehow. That always seems to happen, despite the news and despite my illness. But I feel like I was on a good stretch of not being ill, so occasionally it's going to hit you, right? Just this one's worse because I feel grosser. I've had other issues like, a sore throat, but this one I just feel like a nasty, icky, sicky boy. Beth Davis Jimenez became a member by clicking the join button. I appreciate it. Even today, we'll do a bonus show. Click the join button. Angus Young sent a super chat. Bobby Slack said, love to you, Luke, Jaden, and Clean Beautiful Cole. Chump is beyond gone. You know that when this disaster in Iran ends, Chump will claim he ended another war. Oh, 100%. Oh my gosh, 100%. Do you remember whenever he originally did Operation Midnight Hammer and bombed the nuclear sites, which obliterated them for years to come? Oh, and then we immediately had to start a war because apparently they were obliterated or something. But do you remember right after that? We drop these huge bombs, we fly away, and then Trump sends out, now we can have peace. Like right as we entered the war, he said, now we can have peace, and then took credit for ending that war. What? Guanthrux said, Trump said he collected trillions in tariffs, so use that money. Twat lips. Oh, wait, what? Is that an inappropriate word I just used? I was just reading. It's not my fault. Clement da Vinci became a member by clicking the join button. That is oh so very appreciated. Okay, 1 second. Let's do. It's okay. You can leave it up, Jaden. Let's just all be here together. As I dab my nose. All right. This is I'm very much Taylor Swift in this moment. There's a famous clip of her, and she's singing, and then she gets handed a tissue, and she goes, and then throws it away, and everyone's like, "Woo! Nothing could stop Taylor." That's me right now. I'm so hot right now. It's terrible. I feel like I'm 200 degrees. Whew. Okay. Let's do this now. It feels like the economy and general logistics of the government just get so much worse whenever we have Republicans in power. Now, they will always point the finger. They'll always find a way somehow to point the finger at Democrats. But let's just assess the trend. Don't you feel like you remember more chaos like this whenever Republicans are in power? Yes. And now we have a leak that reveals, despite Trump blaming Democrats, it's actually his fault. What am I talking about? Well, there's a partial government shutdown. Department of Homeland Security, which oversees TSA, airport stuff, has been shut down, not getting funded. And so that's naturally, as employees are not being paid, they have less incentive to go in, and there's all these funding issues, the airports become a disaster. That dispute over funding between Republicans and Democrats comes down to, because ICE is under DHS, ICE. And of course, Democrats, who are now leveraging limited power they have to say, we're not going to fund to the tune of billions of dollars the very same organization that's responsible for American citizens being dead in the streets, ignoring people's rights. So they have demands. We will go with you on funding this if you make reforms, if you make it to where ICE agents actually have to identify themselves and have to take off their masks. And if you don't want to fund it the size of like a lot of countries' militaries, etc. So they have demands. Republicans don't want to capitulate to those. So you're seeing images of up to 4. I even saw one person saying 5-hour lines. Again, we're going to get the story as to why it's actually Trump's fault. But the Atlanta airport said due to TSA staffing constraints, ATL is continuing to see longer than normal wait times at security checkpoints. Travelers are encouraged to arrive at least 4 hours early. We appreciate your patience and thank our federal and airport partners for their continued dedication. 4 hours early. Unless you're going across the world, a 4-hour wait for what will probably be like a 2-hour domestic flight is psychotic. It's not their fault. It's because the government can't get their act together. And then what does Trump do? He sends ICE agents to the airports just to inflame tensions more.
What's your name? Can show the badge. Where's a badge?
Where's your bag?
Can someone call 911?
Grabbing the mother, it looks like, of a child there, ICE agents roaming around. Trump was like, to help with the chaos, I'm going to send in ICE. How does that help? We don't know. It doesn't. This is Trump's America. MAGA will say, thank you, Democrats, or whatever. This is Trump's America. You think if this was happening under Biden, even if part of the explanation was Republicans were making demands, the Republicans would say anything other than this is Biden's fault, or this is Pete Buttigieg who was too busy breastfeeding, or whatever. They would say, but here's the real truth. Yes, Democrats have demands, obviously. They have power, by the way, limited, but they're supposed to use it. They're not in office just to wait until the next midterms. And they're saying, if you want our vote on funding DHS, we need some reforms because we just watched people get murdered in the streets. And we watched people dragged out of their cars for no reason, detained for no reason, U.S. citizens deported. Yes, we need reforms if we're going to vote for this organization. But they aren't trying to hold the country and our transportation hostage and are saying, we'll fund the airport stuff. We'll fund DHS, just not ICE. We'll fund TSA. Republicans, are you on board? And John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, Republican, was like, all right, yeah, that'd be great. Let's get that out of the way, and then we can decide on ICE later. But let's get everything else funded so we don't have all this airport chaos. Do you know who killed it? Trump did. In what was reportedly a fiery private exchange with John Thune. This is a bombshell because this proves to anyone saying that this is anything other than Trump's chaos wrong. The plan would have funded Department of Homeland Security operations, but defer funding for immigration and customs enforcement. Great. That's the focal point of the standoff. Let's not make an already unpleasant experience at airports even more unpleasant. The plan also held back on some Democratic demands, including a mask ban for federal agents and a judicial warrants requirement. Seems reasonable, by the way. Senators and aides told Punchbowl News on Monday that Thune approached the president on Sunday with the compromise shaped by pressure from Senate Republicans and some White House officials, and Trump said no. He said no, and then he sent out publicly, I don't think we should make any deal with the crazy, country-destroying, radical left Democrats unless and until they vote with the Republicans pass the Save America Act. So now he's saying also we have to get this other unrelated legislation passed that we want, which would restrict the voting process and force further layers of identification that could cause extra impediments, but of course aren't addressing any real problem because we have secure elections. You even saw a deadly plane collision at LaGuardia Airport. 2 pilots were killed and dozens of others were injured. So here's my advice to all of you. Don't travel right now unless you absolutely have to. Because we're going to travel and we don't have to. And we want it to be less busy. Guys, here's what we all... Oh gosh. Here's a falling apart. Here's what we all need to do. Okay? Stop traveling. Because we're going on a vacation. And unless you have a family emergency, I don't need you busying up the airport for me. Okay, does that make sense? Is that okay with you? So hear me clearly, hear me now. All of us should abide by one principle. Only travel until this stuff gets addressed and Trump stops preventing progress. Just don't go to the airport, okay? because then you won't notice that we're going to the airport. I don't know why that's funny to me. No, of course, if you want to travel, just know that this is a disaster and you might have to get there 4 hours early. But look up your specific airport. That was the Atlanta one. You have stories out of New Orleans, San Diego. A lot of chaos at airports. Yours it won't necessarily be that chaotic, but now ICE agents are wandering around. The other thing is, don't take out your rage on the TSA people. Okay, the people who are still there, telling you your laptop does need to come out, and it's very confusing because some of them say they don't, some of them do. You take your shoes off, and they're like, no, you don't take your shoes off anymore. And you're like, I'm sorry, now my stinky feet are out. And they're like, no. Those people, it's not their fault. They're still coming to work and not getting paid, just out of like a patriotic obligation or something. So be very kind to them. You're going to be upset. I get it. Don't take it out on the staff. We were just at the airport and I saw, or I guess it wasn't us, it was Michael and I were at the airport, and this lady walked up to these very sweet like desk people, helper. They weren't TSA agents, whoever the ones, airline employees, right, who were doing the bag checks. And she was like, I've been here for so long. You need to tell me, get me on a flight. As if that person standing behind the desk, who all they can do is look at the computer and book you on a flight that exists, could like schedule a new flight. They're like, sorry, there's not a flight until. She's like, no, I've been here so long. You better get me on a flight. Police come over. I'm like, whoa. So then what do you do if you've been standing in line and these people are being berated? You go up and you be really nice to the employees. So I was like, hey, I've been here so long. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. And kind of we laughed. And then she said, this Delta employee was like, hey, huge fan of the show. And I said, see, this is America. It's so beautiful. I don't really know what that point was, but this person was so angry and so mean. Don't do that. Scream in your little neck pillow. Get drunk. Call up a family member and berate them for nothing, but don't take it out on the TSA staff. They didn't do anything wrong. This is because of the government, and specifically the president right now. So I did want to make that very clear. Here is Trump being asked about why he sent ICE agents to the airports.
Whose idea was that? To put ICE at the airport?
We're dealing really...
Whose idea was it?
Mine. That was mine. That was like the paperclip. You know the story of the paperclip? 182 years ago, a man discovered the paperclip. It was so simple. And everybody that looked at it say, why didn't I think of that? ICE was my idea.
What the hell does that mean? He's trying to say he had a brilliant idea, like how someone one time had a brilliant idea about the paperclip, and that's what the ICE decision was, which is only going to make things more insane at airports that already, by the way, as you know, aren't the most fun experience ever. And I understand. Think about, I was at an airport, it wasn't even that busy recently, and I said, the person next to me putting her bag on the security thing was getting confused about if the bag's supposed to go right onto the little thing, the little track, or if it's supposed to go in a bin and then be put on the track. And the TSA agent was annoyed and was like, no, everything goes in a bin. But you never know. Some of them, don't, certain airports. And so I was trying to console. I grabbed a bin for the lady. I said, it's okay. I understand, sometimes you feel like you're doing something wrong at airports when you're not. You're like, am I a terrorist? Why do I, those moments where you're at the airport, you're like, why did I just get so relieved that I made it through security? Like as if I had something. Am I a terrorist? Why do I feel so guilty as they're looking at me? It's very weird. Or you take your shoes off, as I said before, and they're like looking at you like you're a complete idiot. And you're like, okay, it was only a few months ago that we stopped doing this. It's a habit. So anyways, no hate to the TSA agent. I was just trying to make the lady next to me who seemed very disoriented feel better. And so I said, hey, I get it. All the airports have different rules. It's very confusing. And then the lady heard me, the TSA agent, and was like, that's what I'm standing here for, is to tell you what the rules are. And I was like, no, I understand. My name's Luke Beast. I'm a Lipopund and I love you guys. I promised I'm gonna tell my show for people to be nice TSA agents. It wasn't personal. I was just trying to make this lady feel better. She kept asking me if she was a terrorist. She felt like she was doing wrong. Now, by the way, this whole Republicans are generally worse at governing is so true. It's the most true thing you've ever heard in your life. And it shows up in this form. It also shows up in deficits. Look at the deficit change during the last few presidents, okay? What you're going to notice is that under Democrats, there was reductions from the beginning to the end of their presidency in deficits. And that doesn't mean the debt decrease obviously kept increasing, but the rate at which it was increasing decreased. Something like that. You understand, right? And under Republicans, it increased. So the amount we were spending beyond what we were taking in got larger. That gap, right, between spending and taxation got larger. Or spending and revenue, I should say. And that's the trend. Republicans get in office, it increases. Democrats get in office, and they rein it in a little bit. And then as Democrats are in office, Republicans are out there screaming about how Democrats are terrible and they need to, rein in our deficits. And the Republicans get in and make it even worse. This is why, I have a lot of issues with plenty of Democrats. Yes, of course. As a total side note, because I brought that up, look at this clip of John Fetterman from April of 2022.
We were the first campaign to call for the elimination of the filibuster. And that wasn't the prevailing wisdom in the Democratic Party, even at the White House. So why do I want to get rid of the filibuster? Because if you don't want to get rid of the filibuster, you believe that there are 10 to 12 Republican senators of conscience that are going to say, wait a minute, my whole career I've had it wrong. We do want gun control reform legislation. We should grant equality for the gay and trans communities. Do you believe that's going to happen? No. Is there one, let alone 10 to 12? It's important that we flip this seat. So if you trust me with your vote in May, you'll always have my vote in Washington, D.C. You're never going to pick up the paper or your smartphone and see John Fetterman's a holdout. He won't be the 51st vote. He won't vote for Build Back Better. That'll never be me. That'll never be me.
That's literally him now. So literally that he's the guy who's, I'm a standout because my party has gone too woke. And you're like, this is voting on increased healthcare coverage. I don't know what was woke about that. Yeah, but a lot of Democrats want me to say that they, them is pronouns. Okay, we're voting on infrastructure. Yeah, but a lot of my party. Okay, so now he's that guy. But so there's plenty of issues I have with Democrats, people like him. And others, and yes, the party's also tainted with a lot of money being spent to lobby, etc. But one of the things I realized when getting into politics was the basics aren't fully understood by most people. So while I would love to discuss the nuances of how there's corruption across both parties and how the system itself is flawed, and that's something we do talk about and it's important to talk about, I realize I need to make sure I start at the beginning, though, which is as we enter into this discussion, let's make sure we understand the big difference between the two parties. Because I used to think everyone understood that. So spending 50% of the time railing against Democrats and 50% of the time railing against Republicans, that would make sense because everyone already understands Democrats are way better, but you should just spend the time trying to make them even better. No, most people don't know that. Most people don't know that your worst Democratic candidate is going to be better than your best Republican candidate. Most people don't know those things, or the difference in economic performance, or the difference in efficacy of governing, or whenever Republicans actually pass things legislatively, the vast majority of the time, it's just a redistribution of wealth from the low-income Americans to the high-income Americans. Democrats aren't good enough at reining in elite power, sure, but they actually often pass legislation that's in the interest of the working class, even if not enough. And like those basics actually aren't a given, so we need to stop pretending like they are and misleading people. And I just had multiple conversations recently with people who started their political analysis with, and of course both parties are horrible and bad, and so it like doesn't really matter. And you're like, oh my gosh, who gave you that impression? That's not true. So yes, do inner Democratic Party critique, but don't mislead people into believing that the governing reality on the ground for Americans isn't worlds of difference when you have Democrats governing versus Republicans. Okay. Oh, I can't. Is it hot in here to you?
I'm freezing cold, personally.
Really? Oh my gosh. Guys, right after this, we're going to the hospital. We're actually about to go to the airport. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk up in line and be like, achoo, and then get them to spread. That's how I'll spread the seas, the Red Sea. I'll go back, choo, choo, and then everyone will get out of my way. Okay. Let me quickly read some of the audience reaction, and then we'll get back into the show. Dark Sunray has been a member for 21 months and said, love you as always. Nothing can stop you is right. Do we need to rename the parties? It's like there's 2 Democratic and 2 Republican types. Huh. Yeah, I think it'd be a more interesting political dialogue if we had like 4 parties, the more moderate Republican, the MAGA Republican, the more centrist Democrat, and then the more progressive Democrat. That'd be kind of interesting. It won't happen though, so why do I not talk about that? Because it's not going to happen. Not in my lifetime. So might as well just try to make the Democratic Party better. Okay. Haddis Matter Art said, people like you are why I put my medals back on the wall. I couldn't even look at them for a long time. Thank you. That might be the most profound and compelling comment we've ever gotten. Thank you so much. Intuition Jen said, hey Luke, drink a warm glass of scotch with lemon honey in it and drink it like a shot. This will definitely help your cold. Are you sure? Are you encouraging me to drink when I'm sick? I've never heard that's good for you, but now that she said it, I guess I'll have to. I'll do that once my when I have a sore throat, drinking makes it worse, so I might have to wait on that. Janae Joy said has been a member for 10 months. Said, I've followed you every day for over a year. Never stop. Thank you for guiding me through the chaos and restoring my love for this country. Yes. Much love. I love you guys. That makes me feel so good. That's I have a few private. I don't just tell it to you because it needs to be like, I compel you with it through osmosis, but I don't tell you this is the goal. But I have a few like major goals. If I could have had this impact on the audience, and then there's a few goals I have, then I will feel my job is done. And one of them is getting folks who are liberal and thus really understand the flaws with our country and the historical injustices and the present injustices to not allow that to be mutually exclusive with patriotism. And our care for those issues is necessarily attached to our patriotism. We wouldn't care if we didn't love this country and the people in it and understand that it can be something amazing. And so if we as a movement or as a group, a community, can kind of spread that message, I think it could be pretty darn profound. And just like how Republicans have incorrectly convinced Americans they are the party of fiscal responsibility, which I just disproved, they've also convinced Americans that they're the party of loving your country, which is, of course, ridiculous. Ronald Kame sent a super chat. I appreciate that. And then we'll check in. Don't worry. Anyone else who sent comments, I'm going to get to them, but I just need to first talk about Justin Timberlake. So we're going to get back to politics, but I just wanted to talk about this only for the main show viewers because it was so kind of funny. Justin Timberlake is this global pop star, right? He was previously in that NSYNC, right? NSYNC? Look it up. What are you talking about giving me the funky face? You know who that is. NSYNC. Now you're making me feel gaslit. Who's the boy band? Justin Timberlake. Okay, they're going to look that up. Now he's a solo artist. We're bringing sexy back. Yeah. That's Justin Timberlake. And NSYNC? Yeah, NSYNC. Thank you. Okay, so he got arrested for a DWI, and they just released the body cam footage, and watching it was, while bad, he put people's lives at risk. He was drunk driving. That's bad. Now that we know everyone was okay and he got arrested for it, it was funny, the body cam footage. So let me play that for you. This is whenever he got pulled over because he was swerving around.
So the reason for the stop is because you keep veering off to the left and then you're not stopping at the stop signs.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Is this your vehicle? Whose vehicle is it?
Yeah, it's just a rental.
It's a rental? Okay. Do you have any registration with it? Do you know if they can put it in the glove box?
Let me check.
What are you visiting?
Yeah, I'm on tour.
What are you doing?
I'm on the world tour.
So he's Justin Timberlake, right? Very famous guy. And he's a pop star. He's sitting there thinking, I'm Justin Timberlake. What do you mean, what am I doing? I'm on a world tour. And the guy's like, what are you touring? He doesn't know who he is. I love it. I love when pop stars are like, it's me. And then there's some regular police officer or person on the streets like, who's me? I don't know who that is.
I'm on a world tour.
A what?
A world tour.
Doing what?
Hard to explain. World tour. I'm Justin Timberlake.
Justin Timberlake. I don't know how to. Okay, to Justin's drunk credit, first of all, bad. Obviously, he's clearly hammered. He came out in his press conference and was like, even if you have one drink, you had a lot more than one drink. Obviously, say you're a musician. It's very easy, but his drunk self didn't want to come off too pretentious and be like, I'm mother effing Justin Timberlake. So then he's sitting there and he's like, I don't know, I'm Justin Timberlake. But he's trying not to come off like, do you know who I am?
Justin Timberlake.
What's your name?
Justin Timberlake.
You are Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
Do you have a license with you?
Yeah, I do.
And then you're going to put your right foot in front of your left.
So now it skips to whenever he's doing the sobriety test, and needless to say, spoiler alert, he fails.
Stay just like that, okay? You're going to be heel to toe, like this. Heel to toe.
1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000.
All right, that's all good. All right.
By the way, these are like really hard tests.
So the way
oh no. Okay. It looks like so far the tests he took was standing on one leg and counting and then walking in a straight line. Those aren't hard tests when you're sober. What I would defend him on is if you had to take the sobriety test where they get you to do the alphabet backwards. I'm getting arrested even if I'm sober, if they ever make me do that. Z, that's it. That's where I end. Y, X. X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? It's like, I'd have to, because yes, I am at 23 years old doing pretty well. Thank you very much. Okay. I'm so grateful. But I feel like I'm generally intelligent. I know a good bit of things. Okay. I talk about things. Okay. But I am clinically stupid with the alphabet. What do I mean? When I have to do it, I still sing it. I do. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. And I haven't learned one that goes backwards. Just like how whenever I was in Spanish a little bit as a kid, I don't know it well at all. But I still do like lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves y viernes, sábado, domingo. So whenever people are like, what day of the week is Wednesday in Spanish? I have to go, lunes, martes, miércoles. Miércoles is what I say. And they're like, miércoles? And I'm like, yeah, miércoles. So similarly, the letters, I could not do backwards. Y, Z, X, Y, Z, Z, Y, X. U is somewhere. Lamino P is somewhere. And it's just like, at some point, why would I need to know that? So that would be hard in a sobriety test. All right, we're coming up on when Justin Timberlake, someone like a assistant or someone, comes to help him and tries to convince the officer into letting him go by going, don't you like these NSYNC songs?
The device works, you just put your lips over it and you blow into it like you're blowing a balloon. No?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. At this point, based upon the observations, you're under the arrest for suspicion of driving while intoxicated.
There has to be a moment of talking.
No.
So now someone, I'm assuming like one of his staff or someone gets there to try to talk him out of this arrest, and the argument they make is hysterical.
Not anymore. Please help me. Not anymore. Hold on. Okay. So hold on.
This is the registration of the vehicle. Just make sure it stays with the vehicle, okay?
I have his phone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you guys please just do me a favor, because you loved bye 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 or like sexy back. Like, do me one favor. Let me ask him if he wants me to give him his phone.
Yeah. I mean,
this is insane.
So it's not going to be a long thing. I'll let you walk up real quick.
Please.
So please let me talk to him Don't you love Bye 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 and Sexy Back? We're bringing sex or bye 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 bye. Bye 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 bye. That's a crazy move. Now I should to be honest to her, as I listen to that, it actually sounds like she was trying to just talk them into letting her talk to Justin. So maybe she wasn't committing a crime, which is like bribing through fandom a police officer. But that's pretty crazy. And then this was when he was in the police station and he makes a joke about them identifying him as white.
White? I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding. You guys are some goobers. All right, can I go now? This is what being famous does. If I was, obviously I wouldn't be swerving around on the road drunk as a skunk like he was. But let's say that somehow happened and I got arrested. Or let's say I was sober, driving. They pull me over for some reason. They think that I'm drunk and they make me do my ABCs backwards, my CBAs. And I fail because I couldn't do that sober, then I go to jail. I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, no, please. And he's like, you put white? Nah, just kidding. I am white. That's crazy. That's crazy stuff. And then reminder, this was one of my favorite press conference clips ever, which is after he pled guilty or reached a plea deal. He comes out and gives us advice on how not to drunk drive.
So I don't know how many of you were in the courtroom and heard what I had to say in the courtroom, but I'll reiterate that and say this to you. Many of you have probably been covering me for a lot of my life, and as you may know, I try to hold myself to a very high standard for myself. And
you hold yourself to a very high standard for yourself. Are you still drunk? Do your ABCs backwards, Justin, then we'll talk.
This was not that. This was not that. I found myself in a position where I could have made a different decision. But I've had some time to reflect on that. And I also understand by, the fact that all of you are here, that I have a platform, you have a platform, we share that platform. And so what I'd like to say to everyone watching and listening, even if you've had one drink, don't get behind the wheel of a car. There's so many alternatives. Call a friend. Take an Uber. There's many travel apps. Still, take a taxi. This is a mistake that I made.
So, crazy work to get to plead guilty to drunk driving and then to come out and go, all right, so what I'd like to say is call an Uber. There's Lyft. There are taxis still, I think. I wouldn't know. I have a private driver. I'm Justin Timberlake. But you can do Robotaxi. You can do Waymo. You can call your friend Doug. You can call your friend Ralph. You can call your friend. It's like, dude, we know that. We're not standing there where you're standing. We know there's other options. I love it. I really just think maybe this, if I could help through my experience to impact just one guy, this will all have been worth it. I've realized that maybe this is a part of God's plan for me, is to influence others, because a lot of people don't know there's Uber. They don't. It's a new app. They don't know. Dang it. They just don't know. All right. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. I do like your songs, though. Got to be honest. So where did I leave off? I think Tosh is Immons. Toshi Simmons something said, Luke, I love your show. I've been watching you since you started. Please send me a shout out since I started? You are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, 3, for doing what you can. Give me confidence for the future. I'm a contractor, but now a stay at home. I watch too much news. Hey, I get it. Sometimes you just get fixated to it, you know? But I really appreciate your support. And if you're saying you've been watching since the beginning, you are OG, and that is absolutely incredible. Shout out to you. Josh Johnson said, hello, Luke, and all of my fellow Beesloids. Yeah. Shout out. Michael Rooney said, yes, Luke, make it single malt. I'm Scottish. Best drink for a cold. Interesting. Tosh is Immons, if I'm pronouncing that or reading that correctly, or it could be Toss his Immons, said or became a member by clicking the join button. Y'all can tell my brain's clouded by the illness. Please don't blame me. Thank you so much for becoming a member by clicking the join button. I'm telling y'all, I'm Dayquilled out.
A brain.
Kai Truss said, salute from Romania. Thank you. Dad RVM became a member by clicking the join button. Could everyone, I'm so grateful you are all becoming members. It really makes a huge difference. Could you just make sure your username is easy to read? Please. Intuition Jen said, trust Grandma Jen. This home remedy works. Hey, you don't gotta tell me twice if you're encouraging me to drink. All I'm saying. Granny Danny said my great grandma lived to be 102, and her secret was apparently a shot of whiskey every day. So maybe take a shot, man. All right. I love the bandwagon. Yurev, or the trend. Yurev Corden became a member by clicking the join button. Mary said, practice your CBAs, Luke. Love you. Oh, thank you. Yurev upgraded their membership. Amazing. And Hillary Badillery sent a gifted membership. Also amazing. Thank you so much. Now, on a much darker note. As I'm sure you've heard, Robert Mueller passed away, and he was a Bronze Star recipient, 2 Navy Commendation Medals. He received the Purple Heart and the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry, was the FBI director, and then ultimately, and this is what becomes relevant to Trump's reaction to his death, was appointed to be special counsel, the Mueller report, as you've heard, a special counsel into investigating Trump's campaign ties to the Russian government. And what he concluded was, famously, Russia did interfere to advantage Trump in the 2016 election. He couldn't prove like some coordinated effort between the Russian government and Trump himself, but uncovered a bunch of ties between campaign officials and the Russian government. But there wasn't like Trump on the phone with Putin coordinating anything, okay? And then said, while he wasn't pursuing a prosecution, he also wasn't clearing Trump of crimes. And Trump was the sitting president, so it kind of makes sense you wouldn't bring charges at that point. And the charges, most likely, if they had come, would have had to do with the obstruction. So that's famously the Mueller report, and he spent his life in public service. And because he dared to investigate Trump, Trump posted this after the news that he passed away. Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. President Donald J. Trump. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And I'll show you some reactions to it, but let's start with Scott Bessent, who instead of going, I haven't heard of that, which is usually what Trump administration officials, I haven't seen the post yet. Oh, but we just read it too. Yeah, but I haven't seen it yet, so I can't speak to it. Instead, he actually goes on to justify an American citizen being dead and the president literally celebrating it, saying, I'm glad he is dead. Someone who is far more patriotic than Trump.
Ask you on a different topic about a post by President Trump from yesterday responding to the death of former special counsel Robert Mueller. He posted this, quote, Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. Do you think it's appropriate for the President of the United States to celebrate the death of an American citizen, someone who's a Bronze Star, Purple Heart recipient and who served in Vietnam?
Kristen, I was with the President in the green room at Davos, and there was a video playing of the what may have been an illegal raid on his home at Mar-a-Lago. They are going through his wife's wardrobe, and I watched the look in his eye, and I think that neither one of us can understand what has been done to the president and to his family.
But to the question of the president's post, I mean, Robert Mueller didn't order that raid. Is it
that had nothing to do with Robert Mueller. Just if you understand your timeline, that was during the Biden administration. Mueller stopped being the special counsel during Trump's first administration. Why Besson even brings that up, we don't know. He's trying to say Trump's been through so much, so he has to be a huge dick to everyone. That's just what happens when you've been through a lot.
Appropriate for the president to celebrate the death of any American citizen,
again,
Mr. Secretary?
I think that given what has been done to President Trump and his family, it is impossible for either of us to understand what he has been through.
So you don't think that there's anything wrong with the post saying good Robert Mueller's dead?
Again, I think that we should all have a little empathy for what has been done to him.
What about empathy for Mueller's family? What about that? What about understanding that you're the biggest hypocrite ever, and anyone not speaking out against this on Trump's side are hypocrites, and just gross. If you can't see after Rob Reiner died and Trump blamed it on Trump derangement syndrome, and now Robert Mueller, literally him saying, I'm glad he's dead. If you can't see that that's disgusting, you're not anyone I want to ever associate with or talk to. I can't even understand where you're coming from. Wait, Trump being suspected of so many crimes that he keeps being investigated by so many different people, nonpartisan folks, that means he gets to run around and celebrate as the president of the United States whenever people pass. And let me just remind you that, do you remember whenever Trump was gone for a few days and he didn't do any public events, and there were people going, is Trump dead? And then others online being like, what if he's dead? Woo! And MAGA, Trump hadn't actually even died, notably. But MAGA was losing it, saying, see, when Trump does die, liberals are going to be happy. And that's the most sickening, disgusting thing ever. And they don't have anything to say about this because, let me just tell you, Trump gave the bat signal out, the big sign to everyone, green light, I'm using too many different metaphors, for people to celebrate when he eventually passes away. That's what he's doing right now. Because however disgusting he thought Robert Mueller was, which wasn't Mueller's fault that he had to investigate plenty of things that needed to be investigated, believe me, people think Trump's justifiably a lot more disgusting. Whatever thoughts Trump has about Mueller because Trump feels wronged by him, people, rightfully so, have much worse thoughts about Trump. And Trump has been a much more destructive figure. I shouldn't even compare, but however destructive Trump thinks Mueller was, which he wasn't, Trump was so much more destructive substantively. So if your standard is Trump can celebrate Reiner's death, Mueller's death, then what on earth do you think liberals can do whenever Trump passes? You understand? Jonathan Lemire said President Donald Trump cheering the death of Robert Mueller, an American citizen, public servant, and veteran. John Favreau says one day Donald Trump will die and his supporters will try to punish the people who say things like this. So I'm not saying people should celebrate when people pass. I'm saying by Trump's standard, it would be completely fine. Philip DeFranco said, damn, he just gave people the moral green light to celebrate when he kicks it. People are going to be saving the screenshot of his reaction like a get out of jail free card to say the wildest shit. Yashar Ali says, next time an older conservative figure who has treated people terribly dies and Democrats celebrate, you don't get to complain unless you also criticize this. Exactly right. And then Josiah said, nice try, bro, but he's only the most powerful man on earth. Get back to us when he's a leftist Gen Z TikToker. And that's a good point because the right was more outraged by random people, like genuinely random people, who you still don't remember the name of because they were random. User 3612 whatever. Saying they were happy Charlie Kirk died or got killed. And that was reason for Pam Bondi saying we got to rein in the First Amendment effectively. She was saying we got to go after hate speech like celebrating Kirk's assassination. People were losing their jobs, being attacked by the most prominent politicians in the country, death threats, and they were non-influential random people. But now the president of the United States is actually celebrating the passing. Not going, yeah, I don't think that should have happened, but, I'm not going to cry. Literally going, I'm glad he's dead. And some people who are his supporters are saying it's gross, but not nearly enough. And then Besson's like, well, you shouldn't understand what he's gone through. What has he gone through? He kept, you know who went through a lot? Jeffrey Dahmer. I feel like the police were always on his ass. He went through so much. What they put O.J. Simpson through? A trial, civil cases. That's the logic. Trump went through, I'm not saying Trump's a serial killer, or a killer, but Trump went through so much. Oh, because he kept being suspected of crimes that he did commit, by the way. What would you have done if Kamala had won the election, and then we get word that China was interfering to benefit Kamala?
China!
And then you learn that a bunch of her campaign officials were buddy-buddy with Chinese officials. You think there should have been no investigation of that? Of course there should have. That's all the Mueller investigation was, justified, and, you should just check yourself. You should do some introspection if you don't have a problem with this. Okay, let's do a little audience check-in, and then we're going to keep going. Hillary Badillery said, I think you can say my name. Love you. You're so smart. Yes, I can. I can say Hillary Badillery. I love that. Lorinda Fox. Often it's not that I can't pronounce the name or anything like that. It's just sometimes because there's no spaces, because it's an at. I don't know where it stops and starts. So there'll be like a sentence. It'll say, Luke is the blah, blah, blah. And I can't see where the is starts and all that. So whatever. Thank you for calling me smart. I feel very dumb today with my brain fog from the illness. Lorinda Fox became a member by clicking the join button. Thank you so much. Dad RVM said, wish I could keep up my membership consistently, but retired and disabled, doing what I can. Thank you so much. Just watching is all we ask for. And the people who can become members, that is so helpful. But to your point, I appreciate you just the same. Josh Johnston said, asking for empathy for Trump is truly insane. From Trump? Yeah. Expecting empathy from him at this point is deeply, deeply irrational. Also irrational is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan prominently endorsed Trump before the 2024 election, helped to get him elected, had that big cozy interview with him. Trump, people never let you finish whenever you say the election was stolen. Can you explain that to me? All right, wait, let me see. So I looked in the Lincoln bedroom and I said, wow, Lincoln, little Lincoln, what a guy, huh? Wow, okay. That was the interview. And he is now realizing just how insane this administration is. Now, we've been watching that, right? This is not a new story, but every time he stumbles across and discusses another insane Trump story, I find it fascinating. Because to me, I hear these stories and I'm like, yeah, this is what was voted in. But for him, he's coming to this realization in real time that Trump's administration is filled with some lunatics, or that, in this case, one military official is going, trust Trump because he's going to bring onto the world Armageddon. So that's why he has to attack Iran.
There's a crazy story that was on Yahoo about this guy who's a non-commissioned officer that went to a military debriefing. So it was like an operation readiness meeting or a war meeting. Mm-hmm. And one of these fucking guys, one of these high-level commanders says, don't be worried because Trump is anointed by Jesus Christ to bring back the return.
Oh, no.
To bring back Jesus' return on earth. Commander claimed Trump was anointed by Jesus to cause Armageddon to justify the Iran tax.
Wow. See, that's like up there with Allah will protect me.
Exactly.
It's the same shit.
It's the same shit. It's just coming from a different religion.
Yeah,
but it's the same mindset. Like, look at what he said. See what he said? Did you find the actual quote?
Please hold.
He urges us to tell our troops this is all part of God's divine plan, specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelations referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. And he said, added, the superior had a big grin on his face when he said all of this, which made his message seem even more crazy.
Wow.
Bro.
Scary
That's
shit.
just as scary.
So I know that seems like it would have been a joke. I don't think it was. And when you remember Hegseth's political affiliations, his pastor or former pastor, I think he still calls him his pastor, being Looney Tunes. And then in certain positions in the military beyond that, we love, of course, our military and the amazing heroes that serve in it, and they don't make the decisions that ultimately Trump does in this case. But I guess you had one who's very aligned with the Hegseth ideology there. I don't think Trump believes that's happening because Trump doesn't have any discernible spirituality. But to think that, how insane is this? To think that anyone is going, this war is justified because, yeah, there's the shot. Trump's deep in prayer there. To think anyone's going, yeah, I don't know why these photos are cracking. What is happening? I'm getting totally distracted by the B-roll. Yes, pray to me. I mean God. To think that anyone is justifying this war by saying this is Trump's destiny to bring about Armageddon or the stuff in Revelations, the real crazy, wacky stuff towards the end of the Bible. And one of the parts of that quote was, he's going to light, this is how you light up a signal for Jesus' second coming, is to blow up a bunch of Iran, apparently. And that's not the overarching policy of the U.S. military, obviously, or anything like that. That's not the claim. But just that leaked out of some meeting should concern us. And then Rogan said this, which went so viral. And it's just like,
Yeah. Well, a lot of things, it's just nothing seems stable everywhere. Everywhere in the world seems fucked right now. Like this is in all of my years, this seems the most unstable globally.
Oh my gosh. Why? So the first term, things were okay for a few years because Trump inherited Obama's situation. Then Trump started making moves, some bad stuff, and then a pandemic hits, and then he's the absolute worst leader for such a time and is responsible for hundreds of thousands of needless deaths from COVID because of his mismanaging. The economy was worse off because of his mismanaging. We saw what his leadership in the face of chaos looked like, and it was horrible. And Rogan had amnesia for only a couple of years later because one CNN video was a little discolored. And then he's like, now we have to bring down the whole country. They said I was taking horse dewormer, but I wasn't. I was taking ivermectin. It's not a horse dewormer. And so then he started hanging out a lot with Elon. His endorsement of Trump, his official endorsement, was him saying that Elon laid out to him, or publicly, but then he was citing it, the best case for why voting for Trump was reasonable. Okay. So then Elon gets in the administration, horrible disaster. Rogan keeps glazing him. Then Elon calls for the impeachment of Trump and alludes to Trump being a pedophile. Then Elon becomes friends with Trump again. Rogan's kind of all floating around, doesn't exactly know what's going on. And then now he is frightened by the state of things in the world. And I feel like I say this every time we talk about this subject. Eventually I need to get over looking at the past because, that we can't change it now, but we can bring people into the fold. So true. We'll leave it there. But then sometimes I saw Rogan was like, it's really weird that they're having this UFC match on the White House lawn. I am going, but I was like, what? What are you talking about? You're going? It really seems like a strange imagery during a war to have a UFC fight on the White House lawn, but I will, of course, be announcing at it. Maybe it's time that you really cut ties. It is brave to stand powerfully for something, just so you know. This whole, I don't know, I'm just talking about stuff is easy. Standing up for something and standing by the fact that you believe yourself to be well researched and correctly informed, that takes real courage. Just so you know. All right, we got one more story to get to. Maybe it looks like I might survive through this segment. I can feel sweat on my back. I just felt a little bit of sweat go down my back. That's how hot I am. That's crazy. Lucas Galik, thank you so much for that super chat. Carrie Wurer became a member by clicking the join button. And then Kristen Foyle Hat sent 5 gifted memberships. That is incredible. As you know, Dan Bongino was the deputy director of the FBI. He then left after 1 year at the FBI and said it was quite the experience, and he just has to go back to fighting the good fight in the podcast world. And so now he's the guy who runs around and shouts at everyone for being... He's especially taking issue with people who used to be MAGA but are now disillusioned with Trump. And he's like, all right, fine. Trump has not done everything perfect, but why don't you try to get in there? Why don't you try to get in there and do something yourself? You just try to crap all over this guy. He's working hard. Excuse me. And so that's kind of his podcast now, is shouting at people for not cheering on Trump enough. Well, it seems many are still unhappy with him. And this is the reception he got out in public.
You're a pedophile protector. A pedophile protector. Pedophile protector. I was a cop for 9 years. You're a pedophile protector, faggot. You're a pedophile.
What? All right, so it looks like that guy used to be a Trump supporter. And now is mad at Dan. That's my point, is even people who used to love Trump are mad at Dan Bongino. Why you gotta bring us into it? What the hell, dude? You're like, pedophile protector? I'm like, yeah, that's right. Dan did protect pedophiles. Homophobic slur? What? Hey, what?
Pedophile protector. In fact, fuck you. Fuck you.
All right, there you go. Apologies to our segment viewers if you haven't been keeping up. I'm running like a faucet, so doing my best here. And this was a different angle where, again, Dan Bongino's only defense of himself is not to go, we were exposing the perpetrators. We were trying to get to the bottom. It's to go, why don't you get in there and do something? What does that mean? How is that even an argument? Like, you were appointed by the president. Yeah. Just so you know, if Trump will appoint me to the deputy director of the FBI, I will get in there and I'll do your job better than you. And I'll expose Trump. That's what I'll do. Don't tell Trump that, though. Appoint me, then I'll do it. But every time Dan's like, none of these people could ever get in there and do it themselves. Get in the arena. I'm sure many of us would love to. I'd love to get in the arena and make me the deputy director of the FBI.
Don't be a coward, Dan.
Hey, you're going to be trespassed from the property, okay? This might be, you might feel like you're...
God's watching you, man.
But this is...
Remember, we reap what we sow. God's watching us. Go all out against the deep state. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of Satan, man. I'm telling you.
You're a big shit.
I'm ready.
Why don't you do it?
I'm ready to be in Congress.
You put your name.
I'm ready. I plan on it.
No, you plan on it. Shut up. So both of them are dumb, okay? The guy's like, I am. And by the way, vote for me for Congress. But yeah, Dan just keeps saying, why don't you get in there yourself? Or you could have done it yourself. That's such a weird argument. Imagine the president, because it's similar, right? President gets elected. He appoints members of his administration. The members of his administration turning around and going, oh, you don't like the job I'm doing? Well, why don't you do it then? No one gave me that option, number one. Number two, yeah, I would love for almost anyone but the people currently in power to be in power. But that's not how you're supposed to do good stuff. Meanwhile, the FBI warned in more Epstein documents that bags of documents were being shredded at the New York jail days after Epstein's death. But see, this is normal, okay? Everyone needs to remember there's nothing suspicious here. Dan Bongino checked it out, and why don't you get in there? FBI agents received reports about bags of documents being shredded and discarded at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan days after the death of convicted child sex predator Jeffrey Epstein. The Miami Herald released a report on Saturday detailing multiple stories from people at the jail who were concerned about the unusual amount of material being thrown away. This comes after one of the staff at the jail days before Epstein's death was Googling status of Epstein in prison, and then suspicious funds were being put. I don't know what all that means, but this is the reporting that suspicious funds had been put into that person's account. So you don't know what's going on. But here's what's on my nerves, okay? On this whole topic of Epstein and Bongino. And Epstein's dead, right? There's some dispute over, was he dead because he killed himself, or was he dead because Barron Trump strangled him? We can't figure it out. And so that's right, like the two options in my mind. Not actually Barron, but like, or someone killed him. Some people believe maybe he's still alive. That's not true. He's not. But because of that, whenever people look like him and get photographed looking like him, it goes very viral. So this guy who goes by Palm Beach Pete, that we talked about in the bonus show, get the bonus show by clicking the join button on YouTube, went really viral because he was driving and he had glasses on and he looked a lot like Jeffrey Epstein. People were like, oh my gosh, is Epstein alive in Florida? He goes viral. Then he posts a video saying, hey, that's not Epstein, it's me. I'm Palm Beach Pete, and I'm not Epstein. That's where it should have ended. You clarified, go back to whatever you were doing before. But in this world where everyone needs to be going viral, he decided, you know what? I'm going to start a media career. And now he's posting all these updates, doing interviews, all because he's not Jeffrey Epstein. That's not enough to be an influencer, just because you're not Jeffrey Epstein. Hey, I look like that terrible guy. Isn't that funny? No, not really. I could put a mustache on and look kind of like Hitler. Doesn't mean I should be viral on Instagram, okay? By the way, take that down. Funnily enough, there's an election in a small French town between someone named Hitler with 2 T's and Zelensky, but spelled differently. Isn't that funny? Really, that's real from BBC. There's a real mayoral race between someone named Hitler with 2 T's and Zelensky, but spelled differently than the Ukrainian president. Crazy world, huh? So literally, that person, you have 2 options when your name is Hitler or when you look like Jeffrey Epstein. You change your name or you change your face. Hitler in the French town decided, no, I'm going to be a celebrity. It's like 2,000 people in this town, but I'm going to run for mayor. Okay. And so then there's signs and it says, go Hitler. And it's like, what? You do have to change your name. That's just a thing. You do. I'm sorry. If your name's Hitler with 2 T's, you got to take out one of the T's so it's spelled correctly. No, I'm kidding. No, you got to change it to something different. Change it to Beasley. Could be cool. And then if you're this guy, you laugh that you went viral and then you be done. But instead, he's doing interviews now with TMZ, and I'm a little bit sick of it. I don't know why. I explained it more on the bonus show. You can watch that. But this world of like, if I go viral once, I have to try to become an influencer is a little bit, ugh.
I'm Palm Beach Pete. I'm a regular guy. I'm retired. I lived in the city for a long time. Worked in commercial real estate. I love to play tennis. I'm very social. I'm not going to change. This guy is dead, and he was a really bad person. And I can hold my head high. I didn't do anything. I just happen to have similar looks. I'm just a better looking version than Jeffrey. Back in the day, when I was living in the city, I went to a couple of parties and Epstein was there.
Why? Why are you? Why? Why are you revealing that? I'm Palm Beach Pete. I don't have anything to do with him. Now, I did party with him. So that explains why there's records of me in 1,000 different places when he was there. Oh, wait. Maybe I am him.
I was living in the city. I went to a couple of parties and Epstein was there at a party, and he was kind of creature just sitting on a couch, staying to himself. And he wasn't the magnitude that he is or was. So he wasn't a big deal. He was mysterious. People didn't know how he made his money and where he,
Okay. I say this with love. I maybe he got hate or something. I don't think he would have, but he's posting videos about how his Instagram account got taken down. I don't need this. I'm sorry, Pete. I really am. I know everyone wants, excuse me. Whoa, sorry. Everyone wants Instagram fame or whatever. It just don't, dude. I don't like this. It feels like annoying. I'm kidding. Live whatever life you want. Why were you at a party with Jeffrey Epstein? What are the chances of that?
Hey, Mark Zuckerberg. It's Palm Beach Pete. I just wanted to set the record straight that I went to Instagram to let people know that I am nothing to do with Jeff Epstein. I'm Palm Beach Pete.
Okay, so you call him Jeff. So see, this is getting more and more suspicious. You call him Jeff now. Oh.
I'm Palm Beach Pete and just wanted to spread positive vibes. I don't understand why you deplatformed me. I had a lot of followers and I was just trying to do good stuff. And I hear you're moving to Florida. Maybe we could hang out. All the best.
Okay, I don't know. So, I don't know. I don't know what the hell that was. I don't know what we're doing, Pete. So, of course, I'm being silly. Do whatever you want. If you want to become an influencer off of the notoriety of looking kind of like him in one photo one time, and now you can tell everyone every day that you're not him, and that can get some likes, whatever. What is all this for? Anywho, it's just like some people, this is what it is. I'm kind of bitter, and I'm ill, so I'm even more angry. People spend their whole life working on a craft or understanding topics, or I don't know, working on doing commentary in a fun way to grow audiences. And then these goopers go viral for saying hack Tua or looking like Jeffrey Epstein. Not comparing those two things, but and then they're like, oh, I got 100,000 followers yesterday. And you're like, okay, what? No, that's where this comes from. Now, obviously, we're very lucky to have millions of followers. Of course, yes. I'm not saying this in any bitter way. I'm just saying that's kind of my vibe when people get a little bit of virality for something silly and then they're like, now I'm going to become an influencer. It's too much. I don't need to hear every day, hey, what's up, everybody? It's Palm Beach Pete, not Jeffrey Epstein. I don't want to keep hearing Jeffrey Epstein from the guy who's not him. And then I hear that you're partying with him? No, you were at a party where he was there. What on earth are the chances of that, Palm Beach Pete? Very confusing. But much love. Hopefully you're a good guy. And it's like, thanks for supporting me. Wait, why am I supporting you? What do you do? How do I know you're good? Now there's kids screaming outside. I know. I'm annoyed with this too, guys. Very strange. Christopher Hat, 5 gifted memberships. Lori Scalarup, right? Became a member by clicking the join button on YouTube. That is today's show. I appreciate all of you so much. I can't believe we did it. We powered through. Much love. Talk to you next time.